it's JR here, and in this video we're going to look at what responsive web design is. So there's a lot of confusion out there. It's still really new, and there's a lot of businesses that don't understand it, and there's a lot of marketers that even really don't fully grasp what responsive design is. So what we're going to do is just quickly run through an example of what it is and why it's better than the traditional mobile websites that you're probably used to seeing. So as mobile phones started to do more and more things and grow, and the screens got better, and you got full color screens, and they were interactive and touchscreen, you got a birth of mobile websites, it was basically called. And here's an example of how a mobile website would have looked. Very simple, a few buttons, not a lot of options, and again, it's built to fit a small screen size. However, the problem became that this doesn't work for every industry. It doesn't have enough information, or it may not be able to fit any of the different features that a website might need for some industries. And so it was very limited to what these mobile sites would work for. And these actually still work great for some companies. Pizza would be a great example that does still kind of work. You only need a few options, menu, maybe a phone number, things like that. But for the majority of businesses, these mobile sites just didn't work. And here was the other problem. Small phones and smartphones are all similar in size at this point, or were all similar in size at this point. But now there's so many different sizes. Some of these phones are like a tablet themselves. And then you had the tablet growth that was happening, and so websites weren't differentiating between a smartphone and a tablet. And you can imagine that these designs right here on a tablet would have looked horrible. There's way more room on a tablet that could have a full website even, but it was limited to something like this. And oftentimes these would look stretched because these are designed to fill the screen. So on a tablet or an iPad or something like that, this would stretch out and just look horrible. So mobile design itself, like this, was a very short-lived item. It just didn't live up to what was truly needed in every industry and for every website and for all the different devices. And what responsive web design is it means that it works on any screen. So it'll work on a regular computer, laptop, tablet, smartphone, and it doesn't matter what size they are. The screen, the site would adjust for the actual device it's on. So let's look at an example of that. Here is the Sony website. Sony's had a responsive web design up for quite some time now. And you'll see here's the full website. You've got menus here that are drop downs. And by the way, with touch screens, it's good to have these little plus icons that show that there is a drop down there. But you can see very simple header, and there's lots of graphics and things like that. And what's going to happen is that if I was to minimize my browser here, and I were to start shrinking the size, what you're going to notice is that the screen starts to adjust. So you're seeing the website, let me center this here, you're seeing the website adjust as I move the browser in. And there it switches to now, you'll notice all the links that were in the navigation are now just a drop-down menu. So it adjusts as I move the site in. So as the browser changes size, which would be what happens on, for instance, a tablet or a cell phone, the site will adjust and move itself all the elements will adjust and move themselves, and some menus will become drop downs or different method of displaying. This allows one website, not two websites. That was the other issue with mobile websites, is you got two websites now that you have to maintain and keep up to date. In this case, this is one website adjusting for the browser. Here's Mashable.com, and you'll notice that Mashable actually has, for instance, their menu is completely a slide out there, very touch screen friendly. By the way, this does not work on most sites. This is great for Mashable, but there is quite a few. Mashable's market will understand. Let me put it this way. Mashable's market will understand what this button does, because it's going to be a very tech, mobile friendly market. But if you had a business website, I would not recommend using this right away on all your sites. For instance, that some people may not know that, but these little three lines are becoming very recognized as this means the menu. So, that is something you can use, but I don't know if I'd recommend using it right away. Mashable, it works. Again, their audience is going to know. But let's go ahead and shrink this down. What you're going to see is you'll see the site start to adjust. You'll see those boxes right there. You can see these boxes were kind of, see how they're moving already. They're shrinking down in size. They're very adjustable. And the further we go in, it rearranges the layout. You'll see some of that layout, instead of having like 4 across, it's now 2 across. And it adjusts, and there it switches completely to a very mobile friendly, everything's in one line. You got an image and a teaser. So again, that is, again, very responsive. One website for all devices. Here's one that we actually built for one of our clients. This is a order custom label, so you can imagine a little mobile site's not going to cut it for an e-commerce site like this. This needs a lot of information, a lot of space for products. And so what you'll notice is, again, as I shrink in here, you'll notice that the rotator is capable of shrinking. It hits different levels there. It bounces in, and now we've got our menu drop down. This is more like in a tablet mode. The slider has adjusted, and then you'll notice as we go further in, it'll do it again. And now the tablet, or now this is more like a cell phone type of mode. We've got our menu has changed to a nice little drop down, and the slider has adjusted. These were 4 or 5 across, now they're 2 across. And as you scroll down, you'll see the copy is all moved in, and the sidebar items have moved down. So it adjusts based on the size of the browser, and there you can see it just changes as the browser changes. So that is responsive web design, as fast as I can explain it. Works on any device that you would use. So again, regardless of a big desktop monitor or 13-inch or 15-inch laptop to a 7-inch iPad mini or small tablet, and then right down to a small smartphone. It doesn't matter what device you're on, the website's going to work on all of it. And this is important because right now, mobile traffic on average is about 25% of visitors at this point, and that is growing enormously every single year. I think it was up 78% from last year. So last year was probably somewhere around 10% or maybe even less, but we're at 25% on average right now. And I just spoke with I've spoken with clients recently that are seeing 50% traffic, and sometimes more are coming from mobile devices. So you need to be mobile ready, and a mobile website's just not cutting it. Responsive design is the way to do that, and hopefully this kind of explained for you what that means and how that works and how you can use that in your business. So again, responsive just means it responds to the size of the screen, and it allows you to have one website for all devices. So hopefully that clears everything up on responsive design and you enjoyed the video. We'll see you on the next one.